If I were in your shoes, I would probably be listing and selling. In fact, I am, once I get back to Florida after I'm here in Colorado for this next 10 days, I'm going to be listing and selling my condo in Florida. So I'm already doing that myself for my primary residence in Florida. I just bought it last December. By the time I sell, I'll have only owned it for about 12 months. I'm doing that for a variety of reasons, one of which is I think the market's going to soften. I think there might be better buying opportunities as I continue forward if I want to have a place for myself to live. So I'm still always looking to buy investments, but that is not an investment property. I'm not using that to make any money. So from a primary residence standpoint, it makes no sense for me to keep it.
So I live in a hotel all but 6 days. I really do. I enjoy coming back to the house and doing laundry in my own washer and dryer, but I've also toyed with the idea of just throwing this place up and letting it rent.
Long term or short?
Probably long term because I'm not in Orlando, so I won't get that. I'll get kicked out if I do short term.
Oh, it's against your HOA. Okay. I mean, if you're asking me what I would do, obviously there's no right or wrong answer to this question, right? It's all subjective. This is personal preference. If you're asking what I would do, I would 100% be doing it. But you're also talking to a guy that lived in an office for 4 months, a guy that's lived in a tent, a guy that's lived in an RV for 6 months. I'm a guy that literally does what I can out of both cash flow prioritization and the fact that I kind of get a rush from taking on these little adventures. And so for me, it would be a no-brainer. I would definitely be pursuing something if I was only there 6 days. The real question is, what do you do then for those 6 days?
Yeah, I'd have to rent an apartment or, for a month. I'm going to pay somebody rent somewhere. I'm either paying a mortgage
Right.
or rent to another manager.
Right. How much do you think you could get for it?
Probably about $2,500 a month. Mm-hmm. Somewhere between 22 and 25, I would think.
What is the cheapest place you think you could rent because you're only there 6 days? Could you rent a room from somebody?
I guess I could do something like that. Yeah, I probably could.
What about?
Because if I rented an apartment, you think a 1-bedroom apartment would probably run me about $1,000 a month where I'm at.
What about selling?
Thought about that as well. I mean, I could make a quick turnaround, but then I have no property in my name at all. So I don't know if a bank would.
Yet. A bank doesn't care if you have property in your name. When you're out buying more property, the bank does not care if you have no property in your name.
Really? I thought no. I always was under the impression that they preferred to loan on something like, a house, because if they had to repossess it, they can find it, versus a car, they have to chase you across the country or whatever.
Right, but you would have 100% of the money less the costs to sell, right? So if you sold, you would be paying the real estate agents 3%. If they're maxing out, that's if you don't find somebody that's willing to do it at a discount, right? You got to pay the buyer's agent, and you'd be paying some form of closing costs. So let's just say on the high end, to be as ultra conservative as possible, you're sitting at somewhere around 8%.
Good.
Okay. So if you were to let's just look at what you could, if you sold for $450 and you're an end unit, I think that's seems reasonable. So if we're at $450 and you're walking away with 92% of that, you're at $414,000. You're then paying off the mortgage of $274,141. In that, obviously you're completely out of debt at that point. Credit scores are skyrocketing. There's additional capital available to go out and do something like a lavish. But if I'm in your shoes, that money, I would just be spending that money on rent. Right now, you're throwing away $1,900 for 6 days. You could live in a motel. You see what I'm saying? I don't see the market getting a lot better before it potentially gets much worse.
No, you mean the housing market?
The real estate market
is going to go down.
Well, it already is in a lot of different areas. Across the board, all of my properties, including the one I'm sitting in, which was valued at $1.2 million 45 days ago, is now coming in at 1.1. They're saying $100,000 drop in literally 30 days.
Yeah.
Food for thought. if I guess it again goes back to what would I do if I were in your shoes, right? That's the only thing I can tell you. If I were in your shoes, I would probably be listing and selling. In fact, I am once I get back to Florida after I'm here in Colorado for this next 10 days, I'm going to be listing and selling my condo in Florida. So I'm already doing that myself for my primary residence in Florida, selling. I just bought it last December. By the time I sell, I'll have only owned it for about 12 months. So I'm doing that for a variety of reasons, one of which is I think the market's going to soften. I think there might be better buying opportunities as I continue forward if I want to have a place for myself to live. Mm-hmm. So I'm still always looking to buy investments, but that is not an investment property. I'm not using that to make any money. So from a primary residence standpoint, it makes no sense for me to keep it.
So, okay, so what do you do for that? Where are you going to go? You're going to go back to you have your RV still, or?
Well, this property that I'm sitting in right now has not a single guest booking for the months of January until May. It's off season. I rent it, generally speaking, about 7 months of the year. And it still cash flows about 30 grand a year net. So I still make about 2,500 bucks a month in profit on this place. And then I can use it for those other 7 months. So my plan, and next summer is almost all booked out to 100% already. It's already booked. So I can just stay in it, and then next summer I could literally just travel. I'll figure it out. I don't really care. I'll figure it out, just like you would figure it out.
Sure.
But I mean, the difference between you and me is you're having 3/4 of your month paid for by your company.
Yeah.
Your employer.
Yes.
So you're literally paying 1,900 bucks for a week.
Pretty much. I mean, well, this is the first week I've been home in 4 months, and I got the whole week. So this is going to be a big month. I get to be at home for maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, and when you put it that way, I mean, this should be a little bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, I should let it go. I mean, everybody's been telling me, and I'm building a portfolio. I keep telling myself I'm building a portfolio.
You can't build a portfolio of primary residences. You build a portfolio of rental property. You're going to end up with closer to $135,000 of availability. No longer have a $2,000 a month payment for the mortgage. You could literally rent somebody's room for $400 a month, save $1,600 a month in cash flow, $1,500 a month in cash flow, and have 150 grand to pay with and not a single penny of debt.
Yeah.
You realize you would be in a much, much, much better situation.
Well, yeah, before I bought this place, I had an 830 credit score. Now I bought it and it went, but I needed a place to live. So
yeah, and you still do, but it could be so much. I would be looking at places that I could shave off, and that this seems like it could be a really easy one for you. Even if you were just doing shorter term stuff, you could. There's this place called Hello Landing. It's a website, Hello Landing. It's longer term Airbnbs. You could go out and rent an Airbnb. You could rent an Airbnb once a month. You could team up with an owner that has an Airbnb in an area you want to be in. And frankly, it sounds like you got some flexibility with that.
I can be anywhere there's an
Which is amazing because you could go out and be 1 week here and then another week there, and you could go out and rent an Airbnb for $100 a night, and you would still be saving $1,200 a month.
See, this is why I called you. You have opened up all this information.
Listen,
I didn't even think about this, and I was like going, wow, I've always wondered how I could move to here, there, and everywhere. And I'm like, arguing with myself all the time. I mean, like, I don't have to be where I am. I can be anywhere. There's an international airport.
If we were 3 or 4 years ago and the market wasn't showing signs of really turning, I would be a lot more reluctant to say, hey, let's get rid of this thing. But with the market showing so much volatility and other areas around the country, depending on where you're at, really taking a rough hit right now, I'd hate for you in 6 months or a year to look back and be like, damn it, I should have sold that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first call I'd be making after we got off the phone? It's to my favorite real estate agent. I mean, I would be jumping on it today if I were you. If I were in your shoes, that's what I would personally do. It's not as easy a decision for some people as that. I can be pretty impulsive. I also don't have a wife and children. If you don't have a wife and children, it could be just as easy for you. So you're going to have to give some thought to it, maybe sleep on it overnight, maybe don't pick up the phone right after we get done with this call, but, I wouldn't be waiting.
I definitely understand. That's definitely something I'm going to contemplate. And I don't have a wife and kids, and you're right. I mean, it's just stuff I have, and I've been trying to downsize all the way. So that would be great to get.
And you're not even going to have to worry about taxes because it's your primary.
As long as I buy something within 2 years, right?
I would just check with a tax advisor, but I think as long as you've owned it for 2 years, you have a quarter million that you won't pay capital gains on.
That would be true. I might have to wait another month or two, but that'll be close.
How long have you had it?
Oh no. Well,
you've owned it. It's how long you've owned it. Not how long you've owned the mortgage, how long you've owned the property.
So August of 2000. So it's 2 years now.
August of 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you said 2000. I was thinking, well, you've had that for about 23 years. I think you'll be all right.
No. I've had it for 2 years. I got it. This is a brand new house. It's brand new.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So, and it's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. And I have to remind myself to go pee in every bathroom to keep flushing the toilet. It's ridiculous. Way too much room for me, but you're right. You're totally right. I definitely am going to have to think about this and figure out what I can do and how much I can.
So here's what we have to agree about. The money that you have in that property right now is tied up.
Correct.
It's tied up. You're struggling to figure out how to even get your money out so you can go out and make money with it. In the meantime, you're obligated to $1,900 a month to stay there for 1 week. So I mean, your specific formula, I have to figure out where to live full time. You have to figure out where to live for a week. Yours is a much easier situation, as complex as those baby semantics are as far as, well, where do I live for a week, a month? But if I were you, I'd be looking at sharing. I would literally be looking for rooms for rent. I would be trying to find the nicest place with the most privacy, with my own bathroom. And yeah, I might have to share the kitchen 1 week of the month with somebody that I would be very selective about who I roommate with. But I roommated for 5 years in my 30s. I was roommating with somebody literally 4 years ago for 5 years. I'm 43 years old. I'm not afraid to do any of that stuff. I found him on Craigslist, and to this day, he's one of my best friends. It worked out beautifully, but it was a very specific roommate selection process. It wasn't based on where I could live. It was, who am I going to be living with? So I did care a lot, but that was also full time. Again, if I'm gone 3/4 of the month, I would probably shift how I was approaching things. So
let me rephrase this. I was here for 6 nights last month, but the nights were Friday night, Saturday night, 1 weekend, and then the 2 nights the next weekend, and 2 nights maybe the next weekend, and then
So you're kind of in and out. You're like home and then gone and then home and gone. It's not consecutive.
I fly out on Sundays. I get back on Friday nights usually.
Got it. Okay. Well, this coaching session took a little bit of a turn. It's a little more aggressive than we were originally starting with here. But I think if I were to boil this down to my personal preference as far as a roadmap, it would definitely involve a sale.
Okay. You've opened my eyes, and I'm leaning more towards that myself, versus even taking this and making it a rental property, because like you said, it's going to be a long-term rental, and I'm not going to make buku dollars. Basically, somebody else is going to pay for it, and I'm going to end up just owning the property in the end.
And your money is still going to be tied up.
Exactly. My money's still going to be tied up.
You're still not going to be able to have that money to play with, because you do have enough money inside this property that you are going to be able to, to get out there and really make something happen. And you get out there and start making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month on a different property, and you don't have this mortgage anymore, then that means that's your money.
Yeah.
So
that's what I needed. Big smack in the face.
Well, lots to work with. That's the best part. So as long as there's something to change, then, you know, extra eyeballs can help. If there's nothing to change, then, you know, I'm pretty useless. So it looks pretty fun. It looks fun to me. You got to let me know what you decide to do. Keep me posted, please.
Definitely. And also, what do I do if I want to get into the coaching sessions and whatnot to continue the coaching along?
Well, we only accept 5 new members a month. So you basically just have to let me know. As of right now, I think you're pretty well shored up. If you decide to sell, I don't think that, if you decide to sell, I think your game plan's pretty cut and dry. The reason coaching would make sense for you at that point moving forward would be if you're maintaining that expansion-based mindset, and if you're looking to grow out and diversify, if you want to continue to build that side hustle, for instance, or if you want to go into lavish keys, if you want to get into other real estate investing, if you're looking to add new ingredients to the recipe, coaching would make sense.
Sure.
If you're not, and you're just sort of, let me sell, let me clean the slate, and let me just kind of recalibrate, maybe waiting until you're saying, okay, now I'm ready to pull the trigger here. Because that sale process, I mean, it could literally take you 3-4 months before any of what we just talked about today comes to fruition.
Sure.
But once you've sort of received that closing, that check at the closing table,
mm-hmm.
and you're sitting on $250,000, and you're like, let's roll, baby. At that point, it might make sense for you to just turn around and get into coaching. And then we could even revisit and say, okay, where does each one of these dollars go? Instead of you going out and saying, I'm going to slap all of it here. Or I think I remember him saying this over there.
Sure.
At that point, coaching would probably make sense. But I would wait until you make a formal decision on what you're going to do with this place.
Okay.
And once that decision is made, that would determine the timeline. If you're going to sell, let's wait until after you sell, until you close, and then literally that day or the day after, let's talk. And then if you decide not to sell and you're going to keep it, I think coaching would probably be making a little better sense for you sooner. The downside is I don't want to come in and charge you something that affects credit scores. You know, now I would still go after what I talked about in the first scenario where you're looking towards a retirement account to temporarily pay things down. I would do that first, get these credit scores up, and then we can talk.
Definitely.
Okay. So decide what you're going to do first, and then let me know, and we'll decide when.
Okay. Perfect.
Awesome, my man. Looking forward to working with you more closely. And that coaching is all done. That'll be with me directly for the year.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, Chris. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Can't wait to hear what you decide. All right, buddy. You too.
All right. Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.